Welcome back. Well, the movie business right around the world is really booming at the moment. In its first 4 days of screening, the latest James Bond film, Licence to Kill, took just on $10 million at the box office. Timothy Dalton's the star once again. But the thing we must remember, of the James Bonds in movie land, one was an Aussie. And at this very moment, he's waiting for us in our Hollywood studios. Please welcome our own George Lazenby. Welcome, George.
Welcome. Thank you, Bert.
It's nice to talk to you again. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. And I'm very glad to hear that Cubby's still making money.
Yes, he is. Did you make a lot of money out of being James Bond?
Oh, I don't like to talk about my personal finances. No, I didn't.
What happened?
I didn't make...
The other guys did.
That's right. That happened to the other guys. No, I was in it for the fun, Bert, and had my fun, and I got out.
I know that you've gone through it many, many times, but because it's now a couple of years ago, 1969, your James Bond was released, how did you manage to get the role? What were the circumstances leading up to it?
Wow, have you got a minute? This was, it was an accident, actually. I went out with a casting agent on a double date because my friend, his girlfriend showed up, so I had to pretend I was with the casting agent who, this is a friend of mine who wanted to be an actor. I had no intentions of ever becoming an actor. And about 6 months later, she called me up and said she had something that might interest me. And me being an Australian from Queanbeyan thought it was something else. But anyway, I went over to see her, and it was the Bond role. And I said, well, what have I got to do? And she said, well, I can't be your agent. This is a catch-22 situation. You've got to go up and try and get the role, and I'll tell you where to go. But if you get the role, I'll be your agent. And this particular lady lives in Australia right now, and she can verify the story. Her name's Maggie Abbott, and she's working for Kevin Jacobson. And she was the lady responsible for me being where I am today, but going for the Bond role. And I went back again and saw the casting people, and they threw me out because I wasn't on the list. And so she said, no, you've got to get past the secretary and get up to see Dyson Lovell, the casting agent. So I went out and I went and borrowed a suit that looked like Connery's and a Rolex watch. I went to Connery's barber shop, and I turned up again, and this time the secretary was busy. I walked right into Dyson's office, and I said, I hear you're looking for James Bond. And he was on the phone with Harry Saltzman. He said, we've got someone here that might be interesting. Harry said, what do you do? And I told him I skied, and I was a karate expert, and I acted in Germany, Australia, and all the things he wanted to hear. He then took me over to Harry, and he said, tell me your life story. And I said, I've just told Dyson that. And he said, well, tell me again. He said, be here tomorrow to see the director at 4 o'clock. I said, well, at this stage, I was getting frightened because I thought, you know, these guys are serious. They might want me to test or something, and I've never spoken in front of a camera in my life. And I said, well, I can't be here. This is my way of getting out of it. He said, why not? He said, well, I got to be in Paris. He said, well, what will it cost us to keep you here? And I said, well, I usually get $500 a day. And he sent me down to get a check for $500, and I walked out of the place thinking, they give me a check for $500. And she said, what? They've never given an actor money to come back and see them. I said, well, they gave me $500. And they said, well, they got to be interested. And then 4 months later, tested and went through a lot of who I really was, because they found out that I wasn't who I said I was, because I just read the book and told them everything I wanted. They came up to me and said, we're going with you, because he had this American accent. And I thought it was about time, and then I got on with the filming, and I found it was a lot tougher than I wanted it to be. And told him I wasn't going to do another one. And then life got tough after that, Bert.
Yeah. A simple yes or no would have done.
Well, I tried to cut out all the little scenarios in between, but
no, we got the story. That was wonderful. George,
I didn't want to be an actor, and then I got the bug for it later on.
Sure. You told me once that back in 1969, with the shooting of the movie, you felt that you had been given one of the biggest opportunities in the world, and you felt also that you blew it. What did you mean by that?
Well, I'd have to say that was my lack of experience. I was very naive about life. You got to remember where I came from. I didn't have a very big education or grand education. In fact, I didn't even get an intermediate certificate. I ended up in London just bouncing off the walls, having a good time, and not realizing what I'd been given, what I got. And when the doors closed on me after the Bond film, I realized what I'd blown because I couldn't get back up the hill. You know, as soon as they opened the door and said, "See you, George, you don't want to play Bond? Then you're not going to play anything." And it was a tough time for me, and I came through it and out the other side. Now I get back and I have a laugh about it, and I think, what a great experience. Meanwhile, I've done a lot of work for other people, and I'm in a theater company and having a great time. And I'm happier now than I think I've ever been. I've got some foundation. I know more about who I am, and I didn't know who I was, and that's why I blew it.
George, do you think that...
Make any sense?
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure that everyone watching today would be able to identify with that, because a lot was given to you so quickly. Could it happen again? Is that what you want to have happen?
To me again?
Yeah.
Well, if it did happen, I'd certainly handle it differently. I'd know what I was getting into for a start, and I'd say yes to what I was getting into rather than saying, yeah, I'll be James Bond. I mean, you're no longer who you thought you were before, and if it's not in perspective, it can unhinge you a little bit. Now, I'm not saying I needed psychiatric treatment, but I was well on the way to a lot of grief. And I went through, I didn't know the people I was dealing with. I mean, they knew who I was. They could see me, but I couldn't see them. I didn't have the experience.
George, did that grief happen? The grief that you were heading for, as you said?
Oh, yeah.
Well, what sort of grief was it?
Well, I drank a little bit more than I should have, and in fact, I had an experience where my hair fell out. That's in the state of shock, some alopecia. I got alopecia, and I woke up one morning, a whole bunch of hair had fallen out of my head, and being the vain guy that I was, you know, it was pretty tough to face anybody. And fortunately, it grew back at the time. And then
how did you get it back? Did you take any? Well,
I went for some treatment, and it was going to grow back naturally, apparently, but alopecia comes from some kind of shock that goes through your body, and I think that was the realization of what I'd done, because one morning I just told the press I'm not going to do James Bond again, and that was it. That's when they realized that I was fair dinkum, as they say in Australia, as we say in those days.
What got you out of it, George? What got you out of that situation? Guts?
Well, facing up to what was happening to me. I just went out there in the world and said, hey, I'm George, and this is where I'm at right now, and I stepped on the rung of the ladder where anybody would have me. I went and worked with people in Melbourne and different small television groups around the place, and I went and worked in Hong Kong and small C-grade movies where the producers of Bond said I'd end up if I didn't come back with them, and true to their word, I ended up there. And worse, I mean, it was tough when you were famous and I didn't have any money. Everyone thought I did. And trying to get a job, because how do you top what you just did? It was someone put it to me this way: you had a shot at the heavyweight crown and lost it, and therefore no one will give you another shot. It's like if you win it, you can get another shot, but it's a tough road back.
Well, it's great that you are back as a person. It's been great talking to you today, and simply on behalf of my audience, both here in the studio and also out there, we wish you well, George.
Well, I'm sorry it had to be such a sad ending.
No, well, I don't believe it is a sad ending, because there was a turnaround for you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
In Los Angeles, George Lazenby. See if you recognise this face. That's Mrs. Marsh, and Mrs. Marsh is going to join us after this commercial break.